This is Rob Tubber for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined, as always, by Frank Warren. We're here at the lovely BT Studios ahead of Daniel Dubois versus Nathan Gorman. How you doing, Frank?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. As expected, quiet, respectful press conference, but quite a lot different to what we're expecting to see on Saturday night.
Yeah, they'll save all their aggravation and all their actions will be in the ring. You know, there'll be no tossing over tables and bullshit. You know, nonsense to try and sell the fight. They know what they've got to do. They are very respectful and they respectful of each other. But the bottom line is they both feel they've got the beating of each other.
In your role as promoter, do you miss a little bit of that? I mean, I'm not saying that you're advocating throwing of tables and such, but do you miss a bit of that spice in the build-up?
I quite like seeing guys who are in command of themselves. You know, can temper themselves. You know, look, Daniel's never going to change from that. He's pretty much of an introverted guy, a bit like George Foreman was when he was fighting. You know, Nathan's a bit more outgoing, but a respectful type of guy, as Ricky was, who's his training when he fights, and Martin Bowers is a very respectful man. So that's what they are. You get some fighters different. I mean, no, Tyson Fury's a total showman, isn't he? You know, he's from all this sort of stuff, PR and whatever. He's a promoter's dream. But these guys are totally different in where they are, and it's a serious moment in their careers. So early on in their careers, that two undefeated young prospects are lacing them up against each other.
Talk to me about that, because I've spoken to you at times in the past where you've spoken about wanting this to be one day a stadium fight. I mean, obviously you're at the O2, which is a lovely venue in itself, but why now? Why put them against each other now?
Well, it's not me doing it. Border Control, originally what was going to happen was that Joe Joyce was ordered to defend his British title against Daniel, which Daniel wanted. Even then I thought that was a bit too soon, but Daniel wanted to fight. Joe decided he wanted to fight somebody higher up in the rankings, which is what he's doing. And then the board then nominated that Nathan become the one of the challengers for the title. I didn't want it to happen, but neither of the guys would pull out. They just wouldn't pull out. So that's what we've got. We've got a great fight.
They mentioned Joe Joyce. Obviously, he's returning to action against Joyce-Jennings. Great fight. I think the kind of word around the campfire yesterday is that's arguably the bigger fight on the international stage. Would you agree with that?
Well, maybe it is. You know, they're just two good matchups. They are what they are, and that may be the position. But you know, the British public don't know who Jennings really is, do they? But they know they know Nathan, and they certainly know Daniel. So that's it. I don't care what people think about it. All I know is we're putting on two quality heavyweight fights involving in the Brits three of the best prospects in the world.
Free to air as well on BT Sport. How important is that for British boxing?
Well, it's very important that these guys build up their profiles. That's why it's a bit too soon. This fight, the British title fight. I'd much rather that have been later. And let them have built their profiles, then it would have been even bigger fight. It's a massive fight in the trade. It's just it's a crossover so the general public know they are. But whatever happens, the winner of this fight, I think the general public will then know about it.
Are you still looking at potentially putting Joe Joyce in with the winner if obviously Joe comes through his fight with Joyce-Jennings?
If hopefully, Joe comes through, that's a great possibility. But whatever happens, I think two of these guys, if Joe wins and the winner of the other one, I think they will be in mandatory positions by it's four governing bodies. At least one of them, or if not both of them, will be put in very high rankings over the next 12 months. And then by then, the heavyweight division will have settled down with Tyson, with Wilder, and whatever's going to happen with Ruiz and whether he's going to fight Anthony Joshua or not. By that time, that all settles down. These are the next guys who they're going to have to fight.
With that in mind, I'm drawn to comments that you made recently that the winner of this fight would beat Anthony Joshua. Just clarify those comments for me.
Well, what I was saying, looking at the Anthony Joshua I fight the other day, I'd back him to beat him. I mean, they're big punchers. They're bigger. I think certainly in Daniel's case, he's a bigger puncher than Andy Ruiz. And if I'd have made Andy Ruiz against Nathan or Daniel in a couple of fights' time, no one would have batted an eyelid, would they? So I think AJ's got a long climb back. He's shown a lot of vulnerability. I always felt that there were flaws, and we've had that discussion a million times, and they were exploited. And I feel these guys were there and would be able to exploit any of his weaknesses.
Mentioned Tyson Fury. What update can you give me on him? October the 5th has been the date that's been banded about. I know he's been talking, albeit prematurely, apparently, about a fight with Deontay Wilder early next year. Is that just Tyson being Tyson, or is there any truth to that?
No, it's a fight he wants. It's a fight Deontay wants, and I think we've said it a million times. That'll go on with a bit of luck early in the new year, but they've got to win their respective fights in the autumn. Tyson's due to fight end of September, early October, and Deontay's fighting Ortiz. So fingers crossed they both win their fights, and hopefully it'll be on. I think that there's a big, from all of us, there's a big push to make this happen from both sides, all sides.
Jarrell Miller's been talked about as a potential opponent for October the 5th. I know you've had some things to say about Jarrell Miller in the wake of his failed drug tests, plural. Thoughts on that? Is that a realistic opponent?
Who knows? I mean, Tyson wants to fight an American. He fought a German last time in America. He wants to fight an American in America. So if he's free to fight, I mean, I never brought his name up in the first place. His name was brought up, and if he's licensed, then he's somebody to be considered.
Would that be your to be considered? Would that be your call for Jarrell Miller, or does that come from Top Rank and Bob Arum?
That'd be collectively. It comes from Tyson. At the end of the day, Tyson's got to agree to it. And that's what it is. He's the fellow who's stepping in the ring.
With that being said, is there any concern on your part about that fight? I mean, October the 5th is 12 weeks on Saturday. If you're going to do a full VADA testing period, that's 14 weeks. You're already within that window. Would that be a concern for you with Tyson stepping in there with Jarrell Miller?
If he was going to fight, if it was a Miller, and that's a big if. If it was, then he'd have to be tested very regularly. That would be part of it. That's a big if. It's a big if. I mean, that'll all pan out in the next week or so, who he's going to fight.
Moving away from all things heavyweight, Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith seem to be in the news every single day. As I understand it, you've made an offer that has been turned down by Callum Smith's team. What update can you give us, if any?
We made the offer on the 6th of June, and I'll then see a couple of interviews, one with Hearn saying that there'd be no offers made, which was totally untrue. There was an offer made, and as a result of that, what he said, I sent the offer direct to Callum, or via a third party to give to Callum, to see that we were serious. We made a 7-figure guarantee for him against 50% of the gate. Both fighters getting the same guarantee against 50% of the gate, and that's where we got to. And they said they didn't want the fight, and then I heard I was told that there was a Sky interview where Joe Gallagher, who didn't show that offer to Callum, so I understand, I heard that he was saying that it wasn't enough money and that Callum was entitled to more than 50%. I mean, I don't know where all that bullshit comes from. There's a pot, 50%, it's half each. One guy's a double weight world champion who's been around, and it's not like he's an unknown fighter. He's got a good resume. He's got names on his record, good fighters that he's beat, as has Callum's done well. So 50-50 fight, I don't see what the problem would have been.
Is network politics to do with that at all? Would you be happy for Billy Joe to fight on the other side of the fence, so to speak?
No one's made us an offer, we made the offer.
What do you think the likelihood of that fight happening is? Scale of 1 to 10.
Well, for me, I'm an optimist. I'd say I like it to be a 10, but dealing with Joe Gallagher, I think it's minus 10.
Ever the diplomat. Anthony Yarde versus Sergey Kovalev. What update can you give me? It seems Sergey Kovalev has been linked with fights with everybody apart from Anthony Yarde at the minute. You told me that there was going to be an announcement a few weeks ago. We still haven't had that. What's the latest?
Anthony Yarde is the number one mandated challenger for Kovalev's title. He will not move from that position. And that's it. That's what's going to happen. We believe we'll be on Saturday making an announcement, if not before.
Is it reasonable to expect that he's not going to fight for the world title in his next fight? Could it be a situation where he has an intermediate fight?
He's number one. Why would he? He's not going anywhere. He's number one. That's it. That's the fight. That's it. I've read all these things about Canelo, Kovalev. If they want to fight with the WBO title, then someone's got to pick up the phone to us, and that's not happened. And at the moment, Anthony Yarde is just focused on that fight. He trained hard for it, which is supposed to taking place on the 29th of June, which it didn't do, and he's been training since. And I and he wants that fight to be on in August.
Would you be willing to step aside if the price was right, so to speak?
It's not just about the price. It's about if indeed anything happened, then it's a conversation that we would have. And obviously at the end of the day, that would be Anthony's decision. But all we're focusing on at the moment is what Anthony wants, and that's to fight Kovalev. And as he said, he doesn't care if he fights him in his front room. He'll fight him anyway.
Okay, well, Frank Warren, there's a big queue of people behind me. You're a very popular man in these parts. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
See you soon, mate. All the best.
Cheers, mate.